Hello friends, today we are here to present a presentation of a business law HA 2022. We are presenting a case of a Baker versus Gilbert which was happening in 2003 in New South Wales. In this case, we're gonna talk about a negligence between a Mr. Gilbert and Mr. Baker. This case is related to the duty of care under the tort law of Australia. Due to the facts of this case, in this case, that Mr. Becker had a swimming pool in his premise, the swimming pool used by a Mr. Gilbert, but there was some problems in a swimming pool, that the swimming pool platform which was not attached, which was not attached properly to the property, and there was some of the nuts and bolts was a loose, and due to the Mr. Gilbert got a serious due to the, this due to due to due to property damage, Mr. Gilbert got a seriously injured, and Mr. Baker was not aware of the situation of the property.
And the issue in the case that the owner of the property or the householder, Mr. Baker, was not aware of his property. This can harm the lawful visitor of the property. This should have been taken care of by Bakers. One of the problem in this case is that he was unaware of the defects as well. Therefore, the ignorance of situation of the property of Mr. Baker is used in this case. In this case, the argument is from the side of plaintiff. That means from Mr. Gilbert was that it was the property Mr. Baker's, and hence he should have been aware of this situation of the property premises. Therefore, they say was that he breached the rule of duty of care, and hence needs to be punished. So the event was forcibly as the nuts and bolts of the platform were severely loose, and it was visible. So it was the duty of the householder and to maintain his property, which he ignored, and for this has caused the injury of the plaintiff, and it needs to be punished. The argument is the argument of the plaintiff or previous case, like the defendant got punishment for the negligence and the lack of the duty care. And other hand, there was argument was side by the defendant, as well as the property of statement from law of the defendant. He was not aware of the fault that was there in the swimming pool. He did not go to that area to quite sometimes looking at the place it for the check the swimming pool, like there is a maintenance work or something like that. So the law of the defendant also said that the previous two cases which were being referred the defendant were careless, which is Epstein and Swartley 2016, and another one is Henderson at Eller 2017. So, however, there was no strength and arguments that of the defendant knowing situation of the premises of the property in the basic responsibility of the owner.
The judgment by the court in this case was Mr. Baker was found that he was neglected. He was neglecting the safety of the duty which he needs to be done. The decision was given in the favor of Mr. Baker, the plaintiff, because the basic rule of the duty of care was violated. So the court took the initiative that it was Mr. Baker's fault, as the nuts and the bolts of the swimming pool, that was his property. He didn't maintain it as he should have been. So he should have known that was not useful for the humans. So that problem was foreseeable before, if Mr. Baker was careful about that. So Mr. Baker was found guilty in the end because of breaching the duty of care. So therefore, the lack of carefulness has been on the side by the side of Mr. Baker. And there was no fault of Mr. Gilbert. As he got injured, so he needs to be compensated by the plaintiff, that's Mr. Baker, and also the Mr. Baker needs to pay for his careless and malfunctioning of the platform. Therefore, the compensation to Mr. Gilbert due to his loss and injury. So Mr. Baker needs to pay for that. So the conclusion in this case was the plaintiff got injured due to the carelessness. Because of Mr. Baker, he didn't saw that the nuts and the bolts of the swimming pool was not properly done. As we have seen in the previous cases as well, if there is a breach of duty of care, the defendant is usually punished. So the court concluded that this event was foreseeable, but Mr. Baker was guilty of that, and he didn't avoid that. So in this case, Mr. Baker is found guilty.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much for watching this video.